Taymiyyah, who died 728, and An-Nawawi, who died 676, and many other scholars quoted, and listen to this, that it was the practice and the custom of all Muslim women throughout the history to cover their face from non-mahram male. It was the common practice of Muslim women throughout the history to cover their face from non-mahram men. This was the practice of all Muslim women. Now, can we say that it is, this is the practice, or this was the practice of Muslim women in Saudi Arabia? At that time there was no Saudi Arabia. It was in the peninsula, in Egypt, in Pakistan, in Iraq, in Yemen, in these countries. Now all of them are doing this as a matter of culture. Okay, we accept that it is the Pakistani culture, but again it is the Saudi culture. Okay, we accept that again it is it the Egyptian culture? It is impossible that all of them have that cultural thing. It is an Islamic thing. And if we consider that the other opinion is a very legitimate opinion, which is to uncover the face in front of non-mahram men, let me ask you a question. How can all Muslim women throughout 1300 years, except the last century, they used to cover their face, and they used to ignore the other legitimate opinion? How come? We need to question that. If the other opinion is legitimate, which is to uncover the face in front of non-mahram male, at least we should see that it was common that some Muslim women to cover their face and some other Muslim women to cover their face. Some of them cover, some of them do not cover. Why all of them used to cover their face? Why is that? This is a question. And sisters, I challenge anyone to quote any clear quotation that some Muslim women, some free Muslim women, used to uncover their face in any Muslim country in the Islamic history. I challenge anyone to quote any quotation to prove that. It was quoted that some slave women used to uncover their face. Yes, we accept that. And they said that uncovering the face in the Muslim world started after colonization, and before that the practice of Muslim women in all Islamic countries is to cover their face. And I challenge anyone to prove the contrary of that. Don't give me any quotation, and many people are listening to this. Don't give me any quotation that implicitly means that yes, some of them used to cover their face. No, clear. Not that, okay, like the hadith of Al-Khathamiyya, the hadith of Saf'a Al-Khaddain, etc. This means that she used to uncover her face. No, clear quotation. Because I gave you clear quotations from number of scholars that Muslim women throughout Islamic history used to cover their face. That was clear. Al-Ghazali, Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, An-Nawawi, Ibn Taymiyyah, and others quoted that clearly. In order to balance that, leave alone, in order to negate that, we need clear quotations from scholars that it was the habit of some Muslim women to uncover their face in public or in front of non-mahram male. I hope that is clear. So No one can, after all of these proofs, no one can argue with the issue of niqab. Now, see, we don't want to get into what is your opinion with regards to niqab in this country, and is it a fard or is not fard. Sisters, in many occasions I said we don't want to get into that, because if I say that niqab is fard, they will say, well, but so and so believes that it is not fard. If we say, okay, let me quote those scholars who believe that it is fard, then some other people will say, let us quote the other scholars who believe that it is not fard. So I don't want to get into that, but I gave those important points which, as I said to you, all scholars agreed on. What is my opinion here in this country? Sisters, I highly recommend that all sisters wear niqab in this country. Forget about, as I said to you, it is obligatory or not. Why is that? First of all, no one can argue that it is the best practice from an Islamic point of view. This is one thing, as we said before. The other point is, sisters, be careful. In this country we are struggling to preserve our identity as Muslims. And part of preserving the identity is to practice these practices that show our identity in public. So the public will get used to it. And let me ask you a question. I'm sorry to take more time, Shaykh. Now the issue of hijab. Don't you feel that the issue of hijab is becoming normal in this country? Huh? Why is that? Because many people used to practice it. So the people get used to it. And why in some countries the issue of hijab without covering the face is considered to be a very weird thing? Because people are not practicing it, so people are not used to it. Even, to be honest with you, maybe here in East London, in some areas like this area, people are used to see Muslim women with niqab, isn't it? They don't see it as something very weird and very strange. It is a matter of time, and they will get used to it. The other point is, when, like the example of France, if we lower the bar will be more low again. So if we lower the bar of Islamic practices in public, then they will ask us to lower them again and again and again. So it was easy in France to ban hijab in public schools, etc. But here, for example, they are thinking twice before banning niqab, isn't it? Because they said, they are thinking, if we want to ban hijab, let us first ban niqab. Let us first deal with the bigger problem. And once we deal with it, we need to move to the second problem. So, always raise the bar, and you will get something very close to it. I hope that is clear, this point as well. In terms of da'wah, first of all, when they say that niqab is a barrier against da'wah and against integration, let me ask you a question. And be careful, sisters. Always we are thinking, while we have this inferiority complex, it is niqab is against integration. Then how do we defend this point? We say, no, niqab is not against integration. But let me ask you a question. If we say, so what? Yes, it is against integration. So what? Why do we need to say, no, it is not against integration? And as far as you are not breaking the law and causing violence and civil disorder, so what? I don't want to integrate with you. As simple as that. And I said in many occasions, even from that angle, I don't want my wife to integrate with the male neighbor. I don't want you I don't want her to do that, and she doesn't want to do that. Are you forcing me that my wife integrates with the male neighbor? Are you forcing me that my wife the next day, for the purpose of da'wah, visits my male neighbor and had a cup of cappuccino with him and maybe discuss the other matters? No. So what against integration? Against integration. Leave alone that even if we go down that line, that it is against integration, that it is a false accusation.